Okay, so it's a sort of the MCD van collects the waste. Okay. Okay. So now I will continue with our question paper. Yeah. So I was on this question. Okay. So most of you have answered as 90,000 kg CO2, which implies that you have taken into consideration only fuel consumption as a measurement for the carbon footprint. Now, I have told you again and again, carbon footprint comprises of all those steps which are directly and indirectly linked with the CO2 emission. Okay. Now, electricity is linked with the CO2 emission because it is produced by burning fossil fuel, that is coal. So that contributes huge amount of CO2. Okay. And we have been discussing this a lot when we were discussing about renewable energy sources of energy, where I have told you that how this coal burning has caused the industrial revolution, and this has contributed to the climate change and huge amount of CO2. So how can we ignore that? Now, when we say coal burning is playing a role in increasing the industrial or in industrialization. So how did it promoted that industrialization? Of course, because it produced huge amount of electricity, and electricity is the basic source for running the industries. Okay. So therefore, while calculating the carbon footprint, we have to take into account both the fuel consumption in any form, whether it's direct or indirect. Okay. So in transportation, of course, the fuel consumption is direct, but in transportation, counted, that is counted by multiplying each amount with their emission factor. Okay. Now I have a small question. If instead of kgs, I had mentioned in the question about liters of fuel, how would have you attempted it? Anyone? अगर मैंने क्वेश्चन में 75,000 kgs के बजाय दिया होता maybe around 1,000 liters or 1 million liters of fuel, तब आप इस क्वेश्चन को कैसे करते हैं? Quickly. Think, better. I hope my question is clear, right? Beta, anyone? Is my question clear? अगर यहाँ पर बेटा मैं लीटर्स देती, लीटर्स ऑफ फ्यूल, तब आप इसे कैसे कैलकुलेट करते हैं? अच्छा, लीटर्स को केजीस में कन्वर्ट करने का क्या तरीका है? Anyone? How we convert any volume that is given in liters into mass in kgs or grams or anything?
kg so that
राइट राइट, इट्स 10 जी. ठीक है. तो उस केस में आपको फ्यूल की दी जाती है, तब आप फ्यूल के वॉल्यूम को जो कि लीटर्स में दिया होता है उसकी डेंसिटी के साथ में मल्टीप्लाई करते और उसको केजीज में चेंज करते या जो भी वेट है उसमें चेंज करते, फिर आप इस क्वेश्चन को सॉल्व करते हैं. इज दैट क्लियर?
okay ma'am.
ठीक.
Yes
राइट
ma'am.
राइट. ठीक है. सो the equation for this question was 75,000 kgs multiplied by its emission factor, that is 1.2, plus 10,000 multiplied by its emission factor, that is 0.32. So the answer was 90,000 plus 3,200, that is 93,200 kgs of CO2. Okay. Okay. So the another question was a body of parent rock or sediment saturated with water beneath the ground. Now, first line is making it clear. Okay. that if it is beneath the ground, then of course it has to be aquifer. अब aquifer में भी confined aquifer is also an aquifer, unconfined aquifer is also an aquifer. Now there can be possible answers. Okay? I've already told you, if it's MCQ and only one answer, and then you are being asked only to mark one option, then you have to look for best possible answer. ठीक? तो अभी आपको ये तो समझ में आ गया कि एक्विफर है, बट उन दोनों में से स्पेसिफिकली कौन सा एक्विफर है, यानी कि इन दोनों ऑप्शन से ही हमें कुछ मार्क करना है. And that information is given in the second half of the question. That is, first, close to the surface. Now, confined aquifers are always deep-seated. First thing. Second thing, whose water table is affected by the floods and droughts. Now, affected by the floods and droughts implies कि surface पर जो भी activities चल रही हैं, जो भी water content है, that is going to affect the recharging of these aquifers. Okay. Now, I have already told you that confined aquifers are recharged only by some sources which are far off from their places, like for example a lake, or maybe some river, but they are not recharged by rainwater. Why? Because the water that is percolating to the soil, it cannot enter into the confined aquifer, क्योंकि उसके ऊपर में भी आपके impermeable layer होती है. यही तो बताया था, what are confined aquifers? Those aquifers जो दोनों बॉटम में और उसके टॉप पे दोनों ही impervious layer, जो कि पानी को परकुलेट नहीं होने देती है, सराउंडेड है. तो ऊपर में जो भी पानी का रिचार्जिंग या फ्लडिंग या ड्राउट हो रहा होगा, उससे कंफाइंड एक्विफर्स में कोई भी इफेक्ट नहीं पड़ेगा, बिकॉज देयर सोर्स ऑफ रिचार्ज इज सम लेक, फार अवे लेक, दैट इज कंटिन्यूइंग चार्जिंग इट अनलेस एंड अंटिल दैट लेक डाइज. ठीक है, वो लेक खत्म हो जाए. And therefore their atmospheric pressure is not at all equal to the aquatic pressure, atmospheric pressure. ठीक, जबकि अनकन्फाइंड एक्विफर आपके सरफेस के पास होते हैं, इनके ऊपर में रिचार्ज का इम्पैक्ट जो है वो रेन वाटर से होता है. अगर फ्लडिंग है तो एक्सेस अमाउंट ऑफ वाटर विल पर्कुलेट डाउन टू द सॉइल एंड बिकम पार्ट ऑफ द अनकन्फाइंड एक्विफर. If the drought is there, then very less water will be there, and that won't become part of unconfined aquifer, in which the water table will cool down. Okay, so the answer in this case will be unconfined aquifer. Clear? Okay. Then,
Yes, ma'am.
good. Then the question was, which one of the following refers to the product of decomposition of organic waste using species, worms, fungi, regulars? ठीक, अभी हमने इस पे सिर्फ ध्यान दिया organic waste, worms, fungi and regulars, and we marked our answers as vermicomposting. मैंने इसमें options change कर दिए. ठीक है, I have rectified the question. Okay. But if we go to the question properly, they are asking about the product. Vermicomposting and composting are the process, not the product, and hence the answer will be humus. But for the time being, keeping in mind that I was also trying to draw the information to check whether your information is there or not, I have considered vermicomposting also the correct answer in this case. But for the future, always remember, read your question carefully and attempt them wisely. ठीक है, so जिन्होंने vermicomposting भी मार्क किया है, मैंने उनको भी करेक्ट किया है. जिन्होंने ह्यूमस मार्क किया है, मैंने उनको भी करेक्ट कर दिया है. ठीक है, okay. And the question was, nuclear energy is dash source of energy and multi-purpose hydropower projects are dash source of energy. Now, going by the definition of renewable and non-renewable energy, nuclear energy is obtained from minerals, and minerals are exhaustible sources, so this is non-renewable energy. And going by the definition of hydropower projects that are based on water, now water can be recycled, it can be replenished, so that is renewable. Okay, so now in these options we find this one is also right, but there is one option that mentions this green and non-green. Here also it's there non-renewable and renewable. अब हमें एक मार्क करना है. Okay, so as I have already told, we have to mark best possible answer that describes the blank best possible way. Okay, now when I say green, it implies in terms of CO2 emission. Now we know that nuclear, मैं accidents के form में बात नहीं कर रही हूँ that it is radioactive. When I am talking about as a source of energy from where we are taking producing the electricity, in that ways it's clean, because at that time they are not emitting any CO2, or the percent of CO2 is very, very less. जबकि मल्टीपर्पज हाइड्रो पावर प्रोजेक्ट्स में आई हैव टोल्ड यू बिफोर that it is linked with huge amount of greenhouse gas emission in the form of methane, in the form of in the form of CO2, both directly as well as indirectly. How indirectly? In clearing the displacement of by the destruction of the forest, and third, the amount of consumption of cement and other building materials that are being transported and consumes electricity that huge amount of CO2 emission. Okay, so in that case, the answer will be green. Correct. Okay, I have got their answers this time. The next time, you will have to remember how, if you are being asked to mark only one right answer, then look for the best possible answer. Okay. So those who have marked second, I have considered them also right, and those who have marked fourth, I have marked them also correct. Okay. Now, this is a perfectly information-based question. Kyoto Protocol Treaty came out of Vienna Convention in 1985. Both of them are wrong. Neither it came out of Vienna Convention, neither it came out in 1985. Okay, so the answer will be false. Kyoto Protocol Treaty, UNFCCC, which was called Summit in 1992. Red panda species in mark this question. Anyways, I will tell the answer of this question. My question was the correct. The question was the correct cumulative installed power capacity. Okay, and you have to mark the order. Which one is the correct order? Okay. Now again, go through the words. The current, presently. Okay. So if you remember and recall the data I have, if I talk about the current percentage of renewable energy, that was 10% from what wind source, followed by 7% by solar energy, and rest was by the what, your biogas, and of course your small power projects. Okay, but but if we talk about the future one, means the project that India has came up with, then in that case your solar power is the maximum one, followed by the wind power, then the biogas, and then the small hydropower projects. Okay, so in this case, because they are asking about the current and the present condition, so the answer will be the third option. Okay, so I have made this question as 0. So even if you have marked it correct or not correct, that won't affect your marks. Okay. Nagoya Protocol is an outcome of completely informative based question. You know, it's a biodiversity law, so it came out of CBD. Okay, yes. Now this question: a photochemical smog is a cocktail of. Okay. Now the answer of this, if we go by strictly by the equation of photochemical smog, then it is volatile organic compounds, PAN, and ozone. Not more than this, because oxides of nitrogen and hydrocarbon, they are already there in PAN and VOCs. But because some of you were arguing, or they had an opinion that time when the cocktail was used, so they have mentioned and they thought of this as also an option. So I have considered that as a correct answer. So both who have marked 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, I have marked them correct. I have marked them also correct. Okay. Okay. So now we come to the next question, that is, in the reactions given below, which one of the following is not true? Okay, follow the question, it's not true. Okay. And function of L n means not true in regards to the function and nature of L, N, M, M, and N. Now, as I have told you, the strategy here should be, before you go to the option, you first find your answer. Okay, look at the L, N, M. What is your answer? Don't look at the options. You know that L is a free radical, N is also a free radical. L is an oxygen free radical, which will come from this reaction, and N is a free radical, chlorine free radical, which is coming from this reaction. And M, we know because it's dissociating this, definitely it will be ultraviolet C. Okay, so now when you have your own answer, several things are clear in your head. Now you go to the options and see, it will make you easy. It will make you answer easy without any confusion. First option says L is the oxygen free radical that forms ozone molecule, right? Exactly right. N is a chlorine free radical that dissociates the ozone to form Cl. Exactly right. So this option is correct, but the question was asked not true. So this won't be the answer. Let's go to the second option. Without L means without the oxygen free radical, the ozone molecule formed in second reaction will dissociate immediately. Yes, it's right. Because by Lee Chatelier principle, when L is removed, the reaction will go backward, which implies that ozone will dissociate more and more and more. Okay, so this option is also correct, but again, not true fact, so this will also not be the answer. Let's go to a third option. L is any inert third party molecule. पहले ही पार्ट में आपको समझ में आ रहा है this is wrong, because we know that L is an oxygen free radical. It's not an inert third party molecule. Third party molecule means it's coming from somewhere outside. We know that it's not coming from outside. It's because of the dissociation of O2 and O3. Okay. Second, inert means it's not at all reactive, but we know that oxygen free radical are very, very reactive. So not true in this case will be your third one. But let's see the fourth option also. M molecule is an energy consumed during the second reaction. We know that it's ultraviolet C. It's been consumed here. That is breaking in the ozone to form O2 and L and is generating free radical. So in this case, answer 3 is the perfect question. This question is of 2 marks. Okay, because it needs lots of thinking in terms of concept. So those who have marked the third option, they are correct. Okay. Which of the following is not a greenhouse gas? Most of you have marked this correct. Nitrogen dioxide is not a greenhouse gas because nitrous oxide is a greenhouse gas, not nitrogen dioxide. N2O is a greenhouse gas, but NO2 is not a greenhouse gas. Okay. Third option is, the next question is, upsets ecology in lakes and streams by reducing their pH. Now, when this reducing their pH is there, this is a big red flag that this is something related to the acidity. Still, we will go and read the entire question. Never ever decide with the first clue in the question. Okay, check the first clue, keep it reserved, go to the other options, and see if they also are in alignment or in complementary to this option. Okay, or to this clue. So this was removes protective coating from leaves so that plants become susceptible to pest. Exactly. The pollutant dissolve and carries away nutrients because it dissolves the alkali minerals in the soil, sodium, potassium, etc. Exactly. And it damages stone monuments and buildings. A big clue in support of the evidence that this is an acid rain. Right. Now the next question was an on-site conservation. On-site conservation, a big clue. Okay, or the conservation of genetic resources in natural population, another big clue. Okay, such as forest genetic resources in natural population, again the same clue of tree species. It is the process of protecting an endangered plant and animal species in natural habitat. A third clue which are supporting each other, complementing each other, and this is an example of in situ conservation. Okay. Now, when you know your answer, okay, it's an in situ conservation. Now you look at the options. You know, cryopreservation, seed and gene banking, and breeding program and awareness program. None of them are an in situ conservation method. So that cleans you with your option without any confusion or second opinion that the answer will be habitats as national park, reserves, and wildlife sanctuaries. Okay. Now the question on circular economy displays the money proposed in one or the none of the following. Okay, so I have asked you mark all the possible options, but I have failed to change this, so it was taking only one option. So even if you have marked any one option correctly, that is counted in your numbers. Okay. So the options were regenerate the natural system. Exactly. How it is helping in regenerating the natural system by reducing the dependency on raw material, which is the next option. Ensure the quality of the product by taking fresh raw material. Definitely it is not doing that, because taking fresh raw material is a part of your linear economy. So this is not the answer. Second option is not the answer. First is the answer, right? Third option is focuses on the conventional and traditional techniques. It means that the traditional practice of take, make, and dispose, the linear economy, it is following that. No, of course, it is not following that. It is coming up with new techniques and technology wherein it is trying to use the raw material in more recycled and reused way. Okay? And fourth is, so this is also not an answer. Fourth is design strategies that reduces waste and pollution. Exactly. That's clear. It is coming up with new and innovative ideas and strategies so that waste and pollution can be reduced. It includes strategies that reduces carbon footprint. Definitely, all these activities are going to reduce the dependencies in terms of producing more and more amount of carbon footprint, generating carbon footprint, right? And the last option is, so this is also correct, this is also correct, first is also correct. First, third, fourth. Let's talk, sorry, first, fourth, fifth. Let's talk about the last option. Promote sustainable agricultural practices. Yes. So if you remember, uh, uh, in this project on circular economy, because they are taking the raw materials in terms of food supplies, etc., from from the farmers also. So they are also aiming up in returning that share so that the agricultural practices can be made more sustainable. And how they are doing it, whatever amount of money that they are saving, they are trying to collaborate with them so that a financial burden on them can be reduced. So they are promoting sustainable agricultural practices. If you want to know more and in detail how they are playing their role, I have given a link of Alan MacArthur Foundation, one of its kind global foundation in an NGO that promotes circular economy and creates an awareness across globe on circular economy. So there you will get in detail about how it promotes sustainable agricultural practices. Okay. Next comes this loss of dash in region leads to decrease in plant production. Now, of course, in that case, all the four options will be correct. Let's go to the second one. Less resistance to environmental disturbances such as droughts. Now, how will that be there? In that case, of course, we can think we, eutrophication completely goes off. See, it has nothing to do with the environmental disturbance as whole. Eutrophication is a phenomenon that is restricted only to the water bodies. Okay. Now we come to the increases variability in ecosystem processes like plant productivity. चलो उसमें तो soil erosion आ जाएगा, but water use, pest and disease cycles. Now there, your biodiversity is the one that comes into role. Ozone layer has nothing to do with it. So in that case, answer will be your biodiversity. Okay. Another question. This dash results in enrichment of water by nutrient salts. Now, this enrichment of water by nutrient salts causing structural changes and blah blah blah, increased production of algae in aquatic plant, depletion of fish species, blah blah blah. Eutrophication is the only option here. That is clear. Okay. And the last question is a forest ecosystem of Amazon, Bolivia, and southern Western Ghats. Now, when I mention these regions, this implies the type of forest that I'm talking about is tropical rain forest. So 3 points are covered: tropical, and they are rainforest. That means that they will be evergreen. Okay, they are not deciduous or they are not the coniferous one. Clear? Now, if they are tropical, that implies that it will be in a high rainfall region and high temperature region. So this removes this option. आगे फिर जाना ही नहीं है क्या? Let's talk about these three options where high rainfall and high temperature is common. Let's go to the second option. Soil high in organic content. That's true because we know humus is the one which is increasing the organic content. Okay. Let's talk about the third option. Poor nitrogen and phosphorus. Nitrogen and phosphorus are leached deeper into the soil because of heavy rainfall. Fourth option is high nitrogen and phosphorus. This is of course wrong. Either of these two options will exist. This implies that either it's second or it's third. Let's talk about tree shedding their leaves in this was trap. This season implies those are the feature of deciduous forest. I have clarified that. Okay. Second, if you are still confused, read this part. Vertical stratification. I think if you recall the discussion, I have mentioned there n number of times that vertical stratification is the feature in a feature of rainforest, tropical rainforest. I've told you with diagram that there are vegetation at the ground level, then there is a vegetation at the middle height, story level, and at the top canopy level. That is the feature of your tropical rainforest. That leaves with you answer, correct answer as third option. I have marked this question for 2 points. Okay. And then there were long answer questions. So I'll tell you the strategy about how to attempt long answer questions in our next class. Okay. Anyone has any doubt, please let me know.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, Pranjal, please.
Ma'am, which 3 questions are of 2 marks?
One is this one, the ozone one.
Yes, ma'am.
Let me check. The answer. Three. Yeah, this is of 2 marks. And this rainforest one is of 2 marks. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
This, yeah, one is of 2 marks. There's one more. Let me check. And yeah, and the numerical CO2 footprint. This one.
Okay, ma'am.
These are of 3. So these 3 questions are of 2 marks each. Rest are of 1 marks, and one question of 0 marks. That is that a order of wind power, etc. I have marked it 0. Anyone? Any other doubt?
No, ma'am.
Good, fine. Okay. So I hope you are able. Most of you have understood. Okay, how much numbers you must be having in the MCQs. But for the long answer questions, definitely, I will let you know how to attempt these questions, not on the point of view of environment, but future as well. That is very, very important. Okay, it's very important. I think I have told you a number of times. I have been telling this again and again that that information, having information, is one part of getting being educated, but how to use that information so that you are able to explain the person the meaning of that information, or the meaning from that information, out of that information, is equally important and is a part of education. Say, for example, I know I have information, I'm unable to, but I have no idea how to use that information or what to do with that information, or I have no idea how to explain someone about the objective of that information. Then that information is like jewelry that is locked in a box. You are not able to wear it. You are not able to show it to the people. Then that education is a futile one. So this the first part of education and educator implies we teachers, is to provide you with the information, but also to tell you how to use that information in coming out with a meaningful answer, take a meaning out of it. Okay? That meaning can be in the form of connecting the dots. That meaning can be in form of identifying the problems around you. That meaning can be in the form of helping someone at large or in small. Okay? That meaning can be in the form of like um, uh, some new imagination or creativity out of that. Okay, that is that. Then we say, okay, the person is educated. And I'm very sorry to say it's badly missing from our education system. Okay, anyone has any question here? Okay, so I'll stop presenting. We will continue. In this week's time, we will finish our unit 7. Okay, so from next week, we are free. We can either revise, we can either choose taking one or the other class where we can discuss about how to attempt the questions. Rest will be your free time where you can prepare for your examinations and practicals. Okay, so then that will be up to your choice whether you want to take that class or not. Okay.
Thank ma'am.
Okay. So I'll first take for food check, attendance for food check. Okay, so today is 28th. Astha,
Present ma'am.
Anamika, Ankita, Aisha.
Namanita present.
Present ma'am.
Okay, Aisha is also present. Bhashya,
Present ma'am.